Dan gave it the old college try to give the required balance that these government regulators apparently require. But I mean, to me, as an American, it's offensive that he even had to do that. Why did he have to do that? The whole point of a Fox News or a GB News is to provide balance to the mainstream conversation that is entirely happening the opposite way, right? That there's one message. Or does the BBC really provide a lot of balance that's fair to people who are more conservative? No. So it's like the fact that GB has to make sure they contradict anything that is said, that's controversial or about somebody on the left. It's just absurd to me. I hate the whole system. So you said it, your life exploded, and even you were taken aback, I think, by the size of the reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it was, I think that there was a very well organized, there was a woman in the green room who was about to go on next, who shared it with Ava, and she began the pile-on, and it was very organized media pile-on. It wasn't, or as the Andrew Tate people would call a matrix attack. And I woke up the next morning because I was like, me and Dan were talking about it and we're going, that was quite funny. And it's, and poor old Dan, who essentially he's a vulnerable guy. He's not used to being attacked in the way that I'm used to being attacked. And he was bullied into making these apologies, these groveling apologies to do it. But, ultimately, I was just trying to say a simple point, which is that we need some balance. And GB News, what they've done to themselves while casting themselves as the home of free speech. Hang on, quickly, let's do a little diversion here. Paul Marshall, who is the father of Winston Marshall, who was cancelled from Mumford & Sons, who I spoke to every single day during his cancellation period. And I was trying to say, don't throw Andy No under the bus. Don't do this. I supported him. Paul Marshall is his father. He owns GB News, or his part of his legatum consortium owns GB News. He's now trying to buy the Daily Telegraph, the right-wing or centre-right newspaper in the UK. And he's basically positioning himself as the UK's kind of free speech champion, whilst firing everybody who doesn't say what he wants them to say. And I think that's a concerning aspect as well. GB News have also have someone there's on the record as of paying off a female journalist who was the victim of sexual harassment from someone very senior in the organization. So when they talk about this idea that they love free speech and that they love, we've got values and all this sort of stuff, none of it's true within the office space and none of it's true within the organization. And as freedom lovers and as people who believe in the idea of free speech being the cure to the problem between us and them, if there is an us and a them, which there is at the moment, they've just opened themselves up to some unending attacks. Because what's it going to be the next person who says something wrong? They're going to go cancel him, and they're going to go, okay, we'll cancel them too. They're not the home of free speech; they're the home of cancel culture, and their audience is halved in a week. And I was hugely. They hired me knowing I'm a maverick. They knew what I was like, and the minute it came down, and I suppose the broader point here, which I think is important, is that we're losing, Megyn. Those that believe in free speech, free expression being the answer, the way out of this, open, honest discussion with the convincible members of the other side. A moderate Democrat, for example, in terms of American politics. We've now lost the argument because what they do is they organize. The strong come together and they organize very, very well, and they take the weak with them. What we do is we just beg for our jobs. And I just think it's a very uneven battlefield, and I don't see how we get out of this easily.
There have been so many comments made on the left, on the BBC and elsewhere, that have gone completely ignored. This Ofcom, this government group that oversees all the cable channels, and not to mention now they're going to be taking over digital. They don't care. Here's just one. We just pulled this one because we covered this. This is the Bridgerton actress who was watching the coronation, and here was her observation back in May of 2023, SOT 11.
We've gone from the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that. I'm also looking at those younger generations and thinking, what are the nuances that they will inhabit as they grow?
Oh, so because it's a problem to be so white, you see. If you're white,
terribly
that's
white.
A problem. You need to do something about it. terribly white. My God, not just white. That's what I am. As white as they come. Super white, transparent, translucent. But she doesn't like that. You need more melanin in your skin. No discipline there. She was fine. Then there's BBC News at 10. They featured an Indian historian saying Winston Churchill was seen as the precipitator of mass killing due to allegations of his failure in this famine of 1943. No problem. Usage of N-word in a news report about what happened in Bristol, sparking more than 18,000 complaints from viewers. Yours only sparked 8,000. Journalist is still with the BBC. They don't fire. It's different. Another guy, Tim Wilcox, accused of anti-Semitism. He's still with the BBC. Very different story if you say it over on the BBC. And frankly, I've got to be honest, I have sat on the set of GB News, well, my set, but via satellite, with Dan, saying things not too far afield from what you said. I can't find the soundbite. I looked for it. But I know I said something about Harry and how pathetic and effete he seemed after he failed to fight back against William and he fell against the dog bowl and he went crying to his wife. I remember saying something like, my God, who would want to sleep with him? Something to that effect. I guess I'm allowed to say it on GB News, but you're not?
Well, you know, here lieth the problem. The UK is totally unprotected against attacks on free speech. The Americans and the founders and those that wrote the Constitution understood the idea that there is going to be tyranny as mankind moves towards leisure, which is what's happened. You know, as much as there's poverty still in the world and still in my own country, totally ignored by everybody. But ultimately, people are moving towards leisure. So they understood that society was going to get better. And they understood that what would happen, therefore, was tyranny would begin to invoke itself into the society that it was taking place. So they created a First Amendment, which was the protection of free speech. Free speech, cornerstone of any liberal secular democracy or a Republican or an American republic or whatever. But also the other one is the presumption of innocence. So the attack on me came very quickly after the Russell Brand allegations, which were made on a TV show and a lot of it was played by actresses, and it didn't hold huge amounts of public interest to me or to the public
crazy.
Generally.
Just to interrupt you, this was so crazy. You should not be mentioning him in the same breath as your story. These two stories have absolutely no similarity to one another. Russell Brand is accused by, 4 different women of sexual assault, rape, repeated sex and taking advantage of a minor, forced sexual acts on a minor while he was 31. Believe him or not, those allegations are not in the same universe as who would want to shag that? That's nothing. It's a stupid ass joke. It's insane. Don't even mention, whatever, even if you think Russell Brand is totally innocent of all of it, these things should not be compared. But your story, the latter story, seems to me to have gotten more coverage and caused even more outrage.
Yeah, I think the point I'm trying to make is that as I was speaking to the guy who backs the Reclaim Party, he said to me, oh my God, you will get cancelled for shagging too many people and you'll get cancelled for not wanting to shag anybody. So, you know, it's like, at what point can a man express any emotion about his fellow man? And you know, we're in a very, 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 very strange time, and to me, it seems like it's accelerating. And I worry that I don't like sides because I like free speech. I like people to exchange ideas, and I like the best ideas to win. And I said to you, as I spoke to you on the phone, I love your shows where you do the law stuff, because you break it down and you go what's legally relevant. But I don't think I've committed some cardinal sin. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said it. And I'm happy to say it again. I'm just, what I'm doing is I'm reflecting, because I am someone who is trying to find some humility in life. I'm going, could I have said it better? Yeah, I could. But I'm not comparing myself to Russell Brand. I'm just saying that the media storm was convenient because they knew that Russell Brand wasn't going to land as a story because they wanted to kill him off. So they thought, oh, who's next? And they, end up at my door, as they frequently do.
Mm-hmm. And then you got arrested. The weirdest twist in this whole thing. So in between your mass media coverage on this issue, this nothing burger, and your suspension from GB News, You went on our old pal Majid Nawaz's podcast. He used to come on with me on Fox all the time. Now he's got a podcast, and you went on, and you were talking not about this instance in the thing that got you in trouble. You were talking about these cameras that I referenced at the top of the show have been put up in London. They're monitoring cars for emissions that go beyond some certain standard. And, a lot of people in London are saying, who told you could monitor us with these cameras and send us these fines without our consent? And so this civil disobedience group is running around cutting down the cameras. And you went on Nawaz's podcast and said you would join them. I think we have the soundbite. I'm trying to find the number. I think it's SAT4. Yeah, go ahead.
I would encourage mass removal of the surveillance state, because once it's there, you cannot remove it.
Are you interested in testing the law around this if some people get arrested?
I would be happy to be arrested myself. So, I won't be, when I go out and take their cameras down, which I will be doing, I will be taking my phone with me so they know exactly where I am. Because the babe runners are clever. They know what they're doing. But I would happily sit there and sit in court and go, who voted for this? What's your evidence for the Outer London Clean Air Zone? What's your evidence for that? Why are you doing this? I'd sit there and do it, but I do that. I've got several court cases going on, as you know. But I would.
And then the next thing you knew, the cops showed up. Can you just describe what happened when the police showed up?
Yeah, so I was sat in the house. Andrew Bridgen, who's our MP, the only MP, by the way, in the Western world who is going to get a debate in the Houses of Parliament, the mother of all parliaments, on the excess deaths that are taking place across the developed world as a result of the last 2 years' work. He was here, and I got a knock on the door, and 6 policemen barged straight through my door. And they took my children's devices. They took my own devices, hence why I'm on an iPhone to you, a new iPhone. And they were very, very confrontational and difficult. They didn't want me to broadcast. They didn't want me to say anything about it at the time. I was taken to a police station. And the thing that really resonates at times of great difficulty, and I don't think I am going through times of great difficulty, by the way, because I think there are a lot more worse things going on. I'm sat next to a policeman in the car. They're reporting suicides and knife crime, and they're going, "We're busy. We can't go there. We're en route to the police station with criminal number 1, me." And I get to the police station. The guy in the next holding cell to me has got forensic bags on his arms. He's got blood all over his body. He's obviously been doing something which is pretty not good. And I'm sitting there going, how come this is a political takedown? You're taking me down because I was a journalist up until about halfway through my incarceration, my mild incarceration, and B, I lead a political party. So it doesn't look good for the police to send 6 guys into my house, especially when you've got a guy, Chris Packham, who is he's an autistic nature presenter. And, he has that, he's been saying, I think it's fine to break the law to save us from the sun monster. It's very Aztec, this whole thing. It's very sort of, okay, well, if the crops don't work this year, let's just sacrifice some people. And we're going through the digital version of that here. So I went to the police station. I was locked up in the police station. A couple of police officers came around and gave me a brownie because obviously they like to remind you they're in charge. And one of them leant through the door of pulled down my cell, and he went, "We're right behind you, Loz." And I went, "Thanks, man." And he went, "We all watched the Delling pod." And I was like, so I found it funny. I mean, a lot of it is so absurd. It's funny.
The cops are probably with you. I mean, it tends to be the elites who like to enforce the world order, such as we're describing it. I should mention to the audience, you are the leader of a political party. It's called the Reclaim Party. And we pulled this, and I'd actually never seen a formal description of it, but this is what my team gave me. Reclaim intends to change freedom of speech laws and to depoliticize the police and other public institutions. Well, there you have it. Of course, this is problematic. Yeah. Reclaim says it will actively field candidates at the next general election, both to directly take seats and to actively target and unseat MPs, members of parliament, who've sold Britain down the river. So you've been doing this since 2020. And so you are a political figure now under arrest for what? Your political views, for saying you would do something, that you hadn't done something, for a conspiracy which requires an agreement that was never struck, embarrassed, humiliated, property seized, that of your children as well. Now people can say what? That you're an accused criminal in addition to being an alleged misogynist. And great, we're done with Laurence. Okay, it's happening. Autumn's settling in. The Christmas decorations have already made their appearance in corner after corner. I don't know about your neighborhood, but I've already seen them. But before we allow the shopping stress and the madness to take over, take a moment to think about this. Many families have chosen to embrace experiences and family gifts rather than the frenzy of individual shopping. And now is the perfect time to order the ultimate family gift, a Michael Phelps swim spa by Master Spas. A Michael Phelps swim spa by Master Spas combines the benefits of both a hot tub and an exercise pool. Michael Phelps swim spas come in a variety of sizes to complement almost any yard, even if it's a small one. Installation can take less than a day, and since it's heated, you can use it year-round in any climate. Michael Phelps swim spas are 100% made in the USA by Master Spas, the world's largest swim spa manufacturer. Order yours today. Go to masterspas.com, put in the promo code MK to save $1,000 on a Michael Phelps swim spa or $500 on a Master Spas hot tub. Masterspas.com, promo code MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.